All right, I'm gonna cry if I make this whole video and it's out of focus. I just spent, I don't have a watch, a really long time trying to get focus because I'm shooting on a cinema camera now, and cinema cameras care nothing for people who want to film themselves because cinematographers film other people. Raw milk. Kept having to check if I was in focus by recording myself sitting down, getting up, stopping, looking at the footage, zooming in. I did that probably 15 times at least. These vintage lenses are fun, but when you're trying to do some manual focus, it can be a little bit challenging. So, I just wanted to make an episode talking about my next project. I've already started it, and I don't really know how long it's going to take to make, so I guess I'll keep you updated on that. But I've been loving cinematography a lot lately. That's why I got a cinema camera at the expense of things like autofocus, IBIS, or in-body stabilization, or I said autofocus, but I say it twice because it hurts. An articulating screen, and yeah, I did that because I ultimately would prefer to be behind the camera. It's hard to find subjects, but I've determined that I'd like to start moving in the direction of documentary filmmaking. You know, in the past, I did a lot of camera reviews, I did my podcast a lot, and those were really just to keep me making content because I like doing it, keep me sharp. But like I said in my last podcast, I started doing video for work recently, and it was the first time I was able to reinvest in my equipment. And it was my first time being able to see what settings and what am I looking for in a camera? Do I need the best image stabilization? Do I need autofocus? Do I need an articulating screen to make money with my camera? Some of those might have been yes. Um, the screen articulating was kind of nice for some things. The IBIS, the image stabilization, was really nice for B-roll, like fast B-roll and things like that. Um, but ultimately, I determined in the long run what I've always been looking for in a camera is a better image. And I think that's what I think that's what everybody's chasing at the end of the day. So I made the sacrifice and I sold my Panasonic S5ii for the for the Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K, the full frame camera they came out with that everyone hated. Um, and then they made the box camera that everyone wanted. I don't want a box camera. I like because I'm not like a big cinematographer. I don't go on sets. I don't rig out my camera. It's just super expensive. Maybe someday. Um, but I like the usability of this camera. That it's got a massive grip and all the buttons I need and the big screen. That's pretty much what I'm looking for. So they did make this camera for some people. They might not have made it for the people who were asking for a camera. And I remember when it came out, I was really interested. I was like, full frame. Blackmagic's known for micro four thirds or the crop sensor and its L mount. I got Lumix glass. So yeah, it was a difficult thing to adapt to. And like everyone says, yeah, these batteries suck. My battery died in the span of me setting up this set and getting myself in focus. Now I'm on AC power, which they give you an AC power cord, but it's really short. So I had to unplug my computer and use the extension cord so I could plug this in to say really a bunch of nothing. I wanted to let you guys know my heart behind this documentary, and I think it's been a long time coming. Basically, I am a very disorganized man. I have no structure, I never wrote essays. I don't know how to do outlines. I don't know how I'm going to structure this film. But I do have the passion for the topic, and I have the connections to people who live out this subject day to day, or have. And so I'll just tell you what it is. It's about the household. It's about marriage, raising kids, and the structure thereof. And to a lot of young people, or even some older people, that's probably not an interesting thing. But the reason that I want to do it is because it affects everybody. Yes, there's a lot of politics around it, and there are debates and so many different influences that make it intense and divisive and difficult. I don't think it necessarily needs to be that way. I think that there's a standard that historically has been held when it comes to the institution of marriage that has been abandoned, and quite drastically. And I am so passionate about seeing people understand the reason for marriage, the foundation of marriage, and the authority structure of marriage, because that's how marriages last. People are rebelling against marriage at the very same time that we're seeing fatherlessness as an issue, as we're seeing crime as an issue, as we're seeing divorce as an issue, but we won't point to, oh yeah, we should structure our household in a way that people have for a long time, or we should treat marriage as a holy institution that is a full-on commitment that you can't just break when you get bored, or when you don't like the person, or when there's an argument, or even when there's betrayal. I think that marriage is a commitment far beyond what anybody treats it as in our day. I think it is what we say it is when we give our vows: a lifelong commitment, for richer or poorer, till death do us part, in sickness and in health. It is not something you do because of how you feel. And that's why so many marriages fail, is because I love you. I feel it in my heart. But then years go by, things get dull, things get stale. We've had arguments. We're not working together. We're ships in the night. And then boom, no fault divorce. The kids suffer. I don't know who else suffers. but but it, in an act of selfishness, you've torn apart a real institution, a real like entity, this household that you built. You tore it apart because you didn't want it anymore. But that wasn't your commitment or your vow. Your vow was to care for one another till death. And that's what I believe about marriage. And I believe that God is the ultimate authority in marriage. I think that it is God, the man, the woman, and the children. And I think that's how the vast majority of history treated the household. Boys and girls growing up, they need to see a strong man who's willing to protect, to provide, and to humbly obey God in all things. And they also need to see a kind, gentle, caring, hardworking mother who pours herself out daily for her family in the home and submits to her husband, who is submitting to God. And there are no standards like that. Saying that to anybody in our day would just completely destroy them. It just, the amount of names that you'd be called, that I'll probably be called for saying this. I know growing up, I saw so many divorces. I had never seen a healthy marriage until after I became a Christian at 20 years old. My parents were divorced, friends' parents got divorced, everything. and it was just, it was normal to me. But I look back at like being a kid, never having really experienced what it's like to have parents that loved each other and were together. And even still, at age 10 or 11, I would full on throw tantrums alone in my room, wishing that my parents loved each other and would be married and that we could live unified in one home. And I'm sure there's something deep down in everybody that wishes that for their family. Now you get older and you watch all the movies and you see the TV shows where they normalize it and you say, "Oh, I just need to mature and get over this." I had an immature view of marriage where I felt like I could tell my parents what the right thing is for them, but they just need to be happy. They just need to choose what's going to make them happy. That's not what marriage is about. So, yeah. And sorry, the documentary isn't just on marriage. It's on raising kids and things like that. Things of that nature. And I think it's a very expansive, um, detailed topic, and it's also just, it's an exciting topic because it's just this fate that the vast majority of human beings will end up participating in. And I think it's time that people who, well, let me say this, there's like two camps. There's jaded old people and there's scared young people right now. Jaded old people who have been through it, they look at young people who are trying to get married, namely like Christians, people who have a sturdy foundation. They say, "Oh, that's cute. You guys think you're in love. That's great. Like, go for it. I thought I was in love once and it just didn't work out and all that." But but they don't understand that a true Christian has a firm and sturdy foundation and a worldview and all these standards surrounding why they do what they do. It is not just this blind act of obedience. It's an image of Christ in the church, the God who died for his people, who will never abandon them. That's what marriage is. And so, why would we disgrace such a beautiful image when we get discontent? Could you imagine if God abandoned us when he got discontent with us? Not that he ever does. And then the other camp, you got young people who are scared because of those jaded old people. They don't know anyone who's had a healthy, successful marriage. And they have music being pumped into their ears saying, "Oh, women ain't this, boys ain't that. Just do it as much as you can, because why not? It feels good." And it is not a road to lasting joy. The road to lasting joy is submitting to God and trusting that, um, as the one who created the universe, who first instituted marriage, that he would have the correct view on what the standard should be in the home. Yeah, sorry, that was such a If the documentary is anything like how scattered this is, I'm scared for anyone who wants to watch it. But I hope it's good. Basically, I've started going out and filming random people because I want to get the world's perspective on marriage, um, and then contrast it with, some Christians I know who have been married, who've had kids, who, the whole 9 yards, 9 of them. So that's my goal. Keep an eye out for that. Also, the Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K is one of the most beautiful cameras I've ever used, and the colors straight out of the camera are so fire, and they're really big files. So cool. Peace out, guys.